Connecticut East This Week is supported by CT Examiner, a multi-award-winning online newspaper covering stories from across the state, from politics to business, health, education, and the arts. For just a $20 annual subscription, CT Examiner will let you know what's happening where you live. ctexaminer.com, reporting and supporting what matters. And SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, providing recovery services since 1966. We believe in second chances and in the strength of every individual to recover. Now in our 60th year, we remain dedicated to growth and innovation. To get involved, visit scad.org to learn more. She's an award-winning reporter turned book author. We catch up with Elissa Bass as she unveils her second romance novel, Please Wait to Cross, with characters old and new from her last book, Happy Hour. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. We don't do as many book reviews as we should on the podcast, but every now and again one comes along and we grab at it. Elissa Bass is an award-winning reporter turned book author, and last year she released a very steamy romance novel called Happy Hour that went down a storm. Now the Stonington-based writer has released her second book, which has some characters from Happy Hour and a whole host of new ones. I sat down with Elissa recently to talk about her latest book. We're welcoming back Elissa Bass, journalist and author. Elissa, do you realise it's actually been a year since we did the last interview with you, when, of course, we talked about your first book, Happy Hour?
Well, happy anniversary to our interview.
I know. It's amazing. I can't believe I was just listening back at it and having a look at the date and thought, cripes, it's a year ago.
I know. It's hard to believe. I've had an unbelievable time since April of 2024 when Happy Hour came out.
We're going to be talking a little bit about that, obviously, because, you know, people will be interested in how it all went down. But you're here today to talk about your second book, which people are going to love as well, because it has new characters, but characters from Happy Hour as well. Please Wait to Cross. We're just going to let them hold on a little bit before we start getting into it. So talk to us about Happy Hour. Like you said, April of 2024 came out. We spoke to you in September. Has it been a bit of a whirlwind since?
It has been a whirlwind. It has been, I think, one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. I had absolutely no idea, clearly, what I was getting into. I thought, I'm going to write this story and I will publish it and people will read it. And then there's a whole part that comes after that, which is, of course, the marketing of it, which involves, for me, book clubs and bookstore events and going to book festivals across Connecticut and across New England. And I have met countless incredible people, and the love and support that has grown around my little book. It's just been an incredible experience. I did not expect it. I had no idea it was going to be this amazing.
So taking all of that into consideration, how the hell did you find time to write a second book?
Well, okay, this book took me a while to write, partly because I was very busy marketing Happy Hour. And honestly, my brain has only so much creativity to give to the world. So my time was sort of split. But also, this book was a lot harder to write for me. What I realized is the first book wrote itself. It took me 6 months. Boom, I was done. This book took a year and a half, and it made me write it.
Is that because I was listening back at the interview that we did a year ago, and one of the things that you said was the book just flooded out of you, sort of thing. You know, part of it was to do with the character was a 55-year-old who was menopausal, and so you drew on your own experiences.
Yes.
This one is different.
Right. It's the main character in Please Wait to Cross is Biddy, who is the older sister of the heroine from Happy Hour. So she's KK's older sister. So Happy Hour was a very personal novel for me to write. In retrospect, I understand much more clearly that it was even more personal than I thought it was. In a lot of ways, KK's story about her descent into menopause was so much mine. This book has nothing to do with menopause. It has to do with being more than 3/4 of the way through your life and your career and realizing that none of it is what you want and finding what you want in your late 50s, which I think it's a great story. I think it's inspiring in a lot of ways because we do decide as we move through our life, this isn't for me anymore. And so Biddy, who now in this book, she wants everyone to call her Beth, so please call her Beth. She, at the age of 58, has decided everything I've done up until now is not for me anymore, and I'm going to figure it out.
And has she based this off of the fact that she was instrumental, obviously, in helping her sister in Happy Hour? Because she and the rest of the family were helpful to KK. So is this sort of like, what, a cathartic moment after that?
So 100%. Kay's crisis, so Biddy, Beth, has lived in Chicago for their entire adult life, and her sister's crisis brings her back home. So that was sort of the trigger. And then when she gets home, she thinks, I have an opportunity here to reinvent myself, to reboot my life. I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity. The other different part for this story, for Please Wait to Cross, is there's a second main character. It's in the romance genre, it's called dual point of view. So half the story is from Beth's point of view, and the other half of the story is from the police chief's point of view. His name is Mike Ponce, and it's really the story of it's an enemies to lovers story. They start out antagonizing each other like crazy. And of course, with me, there's always a happy ending. So it's their sort of torturous journey to figure out their lives, but also figure out their relationship.
So we should point out then that there are no 34-year-old super hot surfer dudes in this one.
Sorry, no.
But it's a different type of novel. So what we're going to ask you to do, because we've still got plenty to talk about, you have a copy of the book there. Would you do us the favour of reading a little segment and getting our juices going, as it were?
I would love to. So this is literally page 1 of the novel, chapter 1, and this is from Beth's point of view. If this is a midlife crisis, I can't die until I'm 116. I quit my job. I sold my condo. I left Chicago, where I have lived since I was a freshman in college, and moved back east to my ancestral Oceanside home, where I now live with my younger sister and her boyfriend. Her younger than she is boyfriend. I was the CFO of a Fortune 500 company, making a 7-figure salary plus bonuses plus stock options. I lived in a $2 million penthouse with sweeping views of Lake Michigan. I have 4 master's degrees. I did a TED Talk that has more than 1 million views. It's probably not a midlife crisis. It's probably more of a mental breakdown. But we've all been through some bleep in the last few years, My sister certainly has, which is why I find myself here. Within the span of 9 months, her life blew up 3 times. 3. Remember when Dr. Phil told us to never make more than 1 significant change in our lives at a time? Poor KK had 3, and none of them were her fault, nor even her decision, really. Watching her go through these crises from a distance and trying to help via text and FaceTime, not to mention the logistical nightmare of those last-minute flights I booked when each catastrophe initially unfolded, pushed me out of the Midwest and back with my family. After 40 years on my own. 40 years alone. And honestly, for the most part, I don't regret it. It's amazing to see KK every day, to see her happy and settled, to meet my brother Harley for lunch in Boston, and to have our lifelong friend Maddie back styling my hair. I was here in July for vacation when I decided to stay. I emailed my resignation, put my condo on the market, hired someone to pack up my stuff, and ship it east. The biggest bombshell after my 40-year absence is that I've asked everyone to call me Beth. For my first 18 years, I was Biddy, a nickname I despised. For the next 40, I was Elizabeth, scholar and professional. Now I want to relax a little. Beth seems like she knows how to relax.
Wow. That's some good stuff, and that is just the beginning of the book. So it's called Please Wait to Cross, and the reason it's called Please Wait to Cross, I'm making an assumption here, but I think I'm correct, is because Beth decides to become a school crossing guard.
She does. She does. So,
where did that come from? I mean, don't get me wrong. We need school crossing guards, but it's an interesting Where did you pull that one from?
In February of 2023, my husband and I were vacationing in Iceland with our dear friends from New Jersey, Paul and Karen. And one night we were sort of trapped in our hotel because it was February in Iceland and there was a raging blizzard outside. So the hotel had this fabulous sort of living room. There was a roaring fire. There was a lot of wine. Karen works as a school crossing guard. And she started telling stories about what happens at her corner in her little town in New Jersey. And we were crying, laughing. But she also had some really sort of emotional stories to tell as well. I literally took notes on my phone. I was so fascinated by what she was telling us. And I thought, this might be a book. Fast forward to the summer before Happy Hour came out. I was getting feedback on Happy Hour from friends and relatives who were reading it in advance. And my brother said to me, I feel like Biddy didn't really get her fair share of attention in Happy Hour. I feel like she didn't get her story. Everybody else, I have a good idea of what their story is. I feel like Biddy didn't get that. And it literally came to me in my head. I thought, oh my God, Biddy needs to be a crossing guard. And that's how it came together. Then I started writing Biddy's story. She's bored because she's not a CFO of a Fortune 500 company anymore. And she applies to be a school crossing guard, and she gets it because they really need school crossing guards. And that just opens a whole new life for her, a whole new life.
And I'm guessing it's at this point the enemy relationship starts with Chief Mike Ponce.
Yes. Yes, that's how they first come into contact. They had brief contact in Happy Hour. If you remember, Mike Ponce is in Happy Hour for about 2 minutes because when, I don't want no spoilers, when the bad thing happens in Happy Hour, Mike Ponce is there. So they have met. But he's the police chief and she works for the police department. So they start to come into contact a lot more. They start butting heads a lot. And then the relationship progresses.
And why did you decide to pitch Biddy against, obviously, the chief? What was in your head about that? Why were you going to bring those two together?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why a lot of stuff that happened in this book happened. It didn't happen until I started writing it on the page. Karen, when we were in Iceland, did tell us a story about the police chief in her town. And this is actually the scene in Please Wait to Cross, where they meet for the first time officially, where she's working her crossing. It's very early in the morning, and a man comes up to her, well-dressed man, and just kind of stands there and looks at her. And Karen finally says, "May I help you?" And he says to her, "Don't you know who I am?"
Oh, so a bit of arrogance there.
It was the police chief in her town, so it was technically her boss. But she said to him, "No, do you know who I am?" And he said, "Yes, you're one of my crossing guards." So that's literally a little fictionalized how Ponce and Beth meet for the first time. He comes up to her at the crosswalk and stands there with a Dunkin' coffee for her. And he says, "Don't you know who I am?" He's immediately enraged because she's a CFO of a Fortune 500 company. She's had to deal with patriarchal arrogance for an entire career. So she's immediately like, this guy's a jerk. So they don't get off on the right foot.
You said that when you wrote Happy Hour, you didn't tell anybody about it until it was done. I'm guessing people knew you were writing a second book this time, or did you keep that relatively secret? And did you let anybody read any of that until it was done?
So I couldn't keep it a secret because I had all of my Happy Hour fans saying, "We demand a second book."
Which is great.
Which was amazing. But also, I guess maybe that's pressure that I didn't have before, right? Which maybe that's part of why this book gave me a hard time, because I had pressure that I didn't have before. It was great when it was a secret, but I did feel like people were sort of tapping their fingers on the table and waiting for me to finish. I had a lot more people read it this time than last time, including people that had read Happy Hour. Some people that I only met because of Happy Hour, I asked them to be beta readers, and it was great. So I probably had maybe 15 beta readers this time, and it was tremendous. incredible feedback. I made some significant changes because of things that they had said to me. It was an entirely different experience. I very much enjoyed it, but again, I couldn't have kept it a secret this time. There was too much people saying, "Are you done?"
Now, tell us. Of course, Happy Hour was full of steamy stuff, but there was but of course there was page 96, which again we're not going to give away because if people haven't read Happy Hour, go and buy it, read it, find out for yourself. But
there's some good sex in this book.
Okay, is there another page 96 possibly? Or
you know what? I'll have to go look and see what pages it's all on. I do feel like I upped my spicy, steamy game this time around. Again, I felt some pressure, but I do love the utterly dysfunctional relationship that these two people have. Not physically. Physically, they're great. But as soon as the physical great part is over, they go right back to dysfunction.
You turned the genre on its head with Happy Hour. You said this is a dual point sort of like book. Is this sort of turning it on its head a little bit as well, do you feel?
Well, dual point of view is very common, but I will say this. There's a very serious component to this story. There's a very sort of deep look at domestic violence in a small town that takes up quite a bit of the plot. So it's the love story between Beth and Ponce, but it's also sort of a really hard look at how in a small town, people who are in trouble can't find the help that they need, and why can't they? That's
very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it gets kind of deep.
Sounds like it gets a bit dark as well.
It's a little dark. I had to do I did actual research. I did actual research for this book. I put actual work into it instead of just making stuff up like the last one. But and again, I don't really know where that plot line came from. It just appeared all of a sudden. And then I thought, I really love this and I want to pursue it. And so I took a deep dive into small town life and how even in small towns, terrible things that are happening to people maybe can't be stopped.
Yeah. How did husband Joe react to this one? Because, of course, last time he wanted you to make very clear whenever you were at public appearances that you hadn't slept with the bartender, obviously, out of your book. So what was his reaction this time to this very different sort of book?
He thought it was great. He loved the plot that is not the romance part of the plot. But he just says, I'm super proud of you and it's amazing to me that you're doing this. He's a great support system.
Of course, just to remind everybody who's listening, you come from a family of writers, reporters, even your daughter now she's not got into the novel writing, I don't think yet, but she's certainly a reporter, isn't she?
Yes, she's a journalist in New York City.
Do you think that she might take up, because your mum, of course, had a book come out
so
last
my mother,
time.
Yes, we had simultaneous book releases last year. That was super fun. My mother just turned 91 this July, and last year my mom and I did a whole slew of mother-daughter book events around New England. It was super fun.
Which is great.
Listen, when I look back on that, it's, again, a highlight. Came out of nowhere, didn't expect it, truly special. My brother just published a book this year. He took one of our father's unfinished novels and finished it and published it. So that was very cool. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like we're all in a competition at this point. I'm not really sure. We might arm wrestle for the next book release. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I know this one's only just come out. We don't want to put any more pressure on you, but, the obvious question is, are we talking trilogy? Are we talking a third one?
It sort of begs to be a trilogy because the kind of larger-than-life character in the first book and in this book is Maddie, the best friend of the siblings. And so many people have said to me, Maddie's story is next, right? And I'm not saying no. But I have to say that these characters who are very alive to me and very busy in my head and in my subconscious, these characters are very quiet right now. I think they're taking a break from me. And so I'm going to just let it lie and see what happens. I trust my brain completely. And when it's ready, I think I'll know.
Got any tips for anybody out there listening who's thinking, yeah, I think I've got a novel in me? I mean, now you've done 2. Makes you an expert, really, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh, no. No. Although I'm much smarter this time around than I was the last time around. So people always say to me, oh, I wish I could write. And my response to that always is, everyone can write. Just sit down, take a deep breath, literally open your mind, and see what comes out. I'm surprised every single day by things that I write because they come from somewhere in my head and then they're on the paper. So the best way to get started as a writer is to write. Will it be good? Maybe not. Doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. Just go for it and don't be scared.
Based on what you know now, this is your second book, and looking back at how you did everything, would you have changed the way that you approached anything, did anything, or are you happy with how everything has sort of unfolded? I mean, like you said, the marketing is a huge part of this, took a lot of time.
I mean, it's been a blast. I definitely am working very consciously this time around to spend less money and maybe come close to break even on this one because I published it myself, both of them. So I'm smarter. I'm a smarter business person, I think, this time around. I'm a good marketer. I'm just going to say it. So I feel like I did all of that really well. And I have basically just spent the last 3 weeks circling back with everyone that I touched, made contact with over happy hour to say, hey, number 2's here. Would you like to get together, have a book club, have a book signing? What would you like to do? I have a beautiful support system. Some people are working on some events for me. We're going to do a fundraiser in the fall for the New London Homeless Hospitality Center. We're going to do a combination book event fundraiser for them, so that'll be a cool thing. We don't have the specifics yet, but...
Great organisation, so...
Oh, yeah. And we did a fundraiser last year for them with the first book, so it makes sense. And she reached out to me immediately, the woman that I worked with on it last year, and she said, do you want to do it again? And I said, 100%, sign me up. Okay, again, this is the part of the interview where I forgot what the actual question was, but...
You did that last time, didn't you?
I did.
You know I'm keeping it in again, like I did last time. But I'm not going to...
Did I answer that question?
You sort of did. I'm not going to put you through it again. Thank you. I appreciate all I'm going to say is Elissa Bass, journalist, writer, author. Thank you for coming back and talking to us about Please Wait to Cross, the second book in hopefully a trilogy. No pressure there. The book, of course, is available now on all digital outlets, and you can also get it if your local bookstore doesn't have it. They will order it. There is a bookstore in Mystic. Which one was that?
So Bank Square Books, tremendous support they've shown me, and they have it currently, and any bookstore can order it. It's available to any bookstore or library if you want your library to get it.
Absolutely. And of course, people can follow you and all of the events that are coming up at your website, elissabass.com as well. And of course, we say to people, go out, buy it, support Elissa, and find out as well, more interestingly, find out the next installment in the Elissa Bass book. We'll just mention trilogy again just before we let you go. But Elissa Bass, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for sparing the time, and also congratulations on the second book.
Thank you, Brian.
And that website again is elissabass.com to keep you up to date on all of Elissa's book signing events and more.
Mommy, can I sit in the front seat just this one time? Please, please, please.
No, not yet.
But why?
Because I love you, and you're just not ready yet. Now, get in the back so I can get you in your car seat, please.
Putting your kids in the right seat for their age and size is an act of love. Check that your kids are in the right seat at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Love protects. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week, supported by ctexaminer.com, reporting and supporting what matters. Connecticut's only nuclear power station, Millstone in Waterford, celebrated 50 years of generating carbon-free electricity recently. The station is owned and run by Dominion Energy, one of the largest power companies in the nation. Bob Blue is the CEO of Dominion Energy.
Millstone produces enough energy each year to power nearly 2 million homes without emitting greenhouse gases. In the last decade alone, Millstone's operations have helped prevent as much carbon emissions as taking almost 5 million cars off the road, proving it a vital partner in meeting Connecticut's climate goals. Millstone is not just a power station, it's a central part of the community. and a pillar of the state's clean energy strategy.
Governor Lamont said nuclear power was part of the mix of energy that will be needed to keep the state running in the future.
You know, I can bring down some solar power from Maine and some hydro from Quebec and offshore wind. That gets a little tricky these days, you maybe notice. But, you know, I really think the expansion and extension of nuclear power right here, starting with Millstone, is an enormous, important piece of our process. I want to see this agreement get continued, and I'd like to see it get expanded.
Dominion said they intend to pursue license renewals for both of Millstone's 2 reactors, units 2 and 3, to 2055 and 2065, respectively. They are also looking to extend the 2,100 megawatts of power output of Millstone in the future to help meet increasing energy demands. Millstone currently produces around 15% of the energy used in the New England region. Eastern Connecticut State University and Hartford Healthcare have come together to open a nursing simulation training lab at Windham Hospital. The high-tech center is a public-private collaboration between Eastern Connecticut State University and Hartford Healthcare and will give new nurses the ability to make mistakes and learn and adapt, as well as hone their skills using mannequins that are almost lifelike, reacting to pain and other stimuli. It is also the only hospital-based nursing training facility in Eastern Connecticut. Eastern's president, Dr. Karim Ismaili, said the nursing lab would allow Eastern students to bring with them essential liberal arts skills as well, such as critical thinking, ethical reasoning, quantitative literacy, communication, and creativity. New England Charities say they'll continue to track rates of food insecurity following the end of a long-standing effort by the federal government. Catherine Carley of the Public News Service reports.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture recently announced it would end its long-standing annual survey of hunger nationwide, calling it redundant, costly, and politicized. Matthew Martin with End Hunger New England says the public should know that requests for help from regional food pantries have more than doubled over the past year.
The federal government's not going to do it. Feeding America's going to do it. End Hunger New England's going to do it, to make sure that people are aware.
For 30 years, the annual Food Insecurity Survey has helped shape anti-hunger policies, but federal officials claim the data has been misused by Democrats to increase eligibility for SNAP benefits. Martin says 1 in 3 New Englanders are considered food insecure. I'm Catherine Carley.
And in the CT Examiner this week, state police are planning to hire new staff and to restructure the way the department handles freedom of information requests. A lawyer for the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection assured a hearing officer recently in response to a complaint by CT Examiner that the months-long backlog violated the state's legal standard of promptness. CT Examiner filed a complaint against the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection in April with the state's Freedom of Information Commission for failing to hand over documents relating to the criminal investigation of State Trooper Timothy Heroian, a former school resource officer at Vinyl Tech High School in Middletown. You can read the full article by reporter Ali Lamaster at ctexaminer.com. And PandaFest, one of the fastest growing Asian food festivals in the US, made its debut in Connecticut recently, drawing a crowd of 30,000 to the state capitol. Some 55 food vendors featuring a wide variety of Asian street food, from candied fruit skewers to soup dumplings, lined the riverside and packed the promenades. The event had sold out 3 weeks before. Living up to its name, the event featured a panda as its mascot. Panda-themed items were everywhere, with the most popular items across all ages being an oversized panda-shaped sippy cup and an inflatable panda headband. The 2-day affair also showcased Asian culture, from line dancing and wushu demos to K-pop concerts and karaoke. And CT Examiner's reporter Amy Wu has all the details in her report at ctexaminer.com. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms, on demand, and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow, and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening.